What is going on YouTube? Today I'm going to teach you how to wax your skis. So the first thing I'm going to teach you guys how to do is tune up your edges, because you have to do that before you do anything else if you need to tune your edges. So what you're going to need is a rubber band, an edge tuner, and a file. What you're going to do is take the rubber band, put it around the edge of the ski brake, pull it over, bring it under, and then wrap it around the other side of the ski brake. And then you have a flush surface to wax the ski edge at whatever. Next, you're going to want to take your side filer and put these little knobs or whatever gets the actual file out. You want to loosen those. What you're going to want to do once you have the file out, you're going to want to take the arrow and make sure it's in whatever way you're going to be filing it. Make sure it's flush with the back side so that way it's even on the other side. Tighten it back up, and that way you have the file is against the edge, so it's actually scraping off the metal and making your edges sharper. So before you start filing, make sure you always have your file running backwards, so that way you're filing this way, because the snow is going to be going under your ski this way, as if you're going forward. So you want to file from the tip to the tail. So once you have everything sorted out, you're just going to want to start at the very tip, probably like almost to the point where your ski is about to start curving at the tip, and then you're just going to want to put your file there and just run through. As you can see, it did not go through very smoothly. That means my edges aren't that great. They're not horrible. If you're like, that means your edges are really bad and you did something horrible to your edges. But the thing about the edges is they're the hardest to get back to 100% because they're made out of metal, and you can't just put metal on the metal to get more metal and then make it smooth like you can with the base. Like, a base gash is not as bad as nicking an edge, because once you have rounded edges, you can't stop on steep icy terrain, which is horrible for you East Coasters. But yeah, you're just gonna wanna run it down a few times until it starts feeling a little smoother. You wanna apply a pretty big amount of pressure, but you just wanna make sure that you see these little metal filings coming off. They look like little strings of silver flying off from where the file is. So you guys probably won't be able to see them, but when you're doing your skis or your board or whatever, once you run it through, make sure you have enough pressure to the point where metal's actually getting off of the edges and making it sharper. As you can see in there, you can see the little metal filings that's coming off the edges, and it's getting a lot sharper since we're grinding it down with this edge filer. To get the files out, just loosen it like this, and just bang it against something. And there's all the filings. You can swipe them onto the floor, and then just put the file back in. After you've ran through your edges a few times, just try to wipe off all the metal stuff that's on the actual edge. Don't go too hard, because the edges are probably a lot sharper by now. Just get off the metal scraping. For your PTex, you're gonna want a flat file. Now that's just making the bottom of the edge a little bit smoother. This part isn't too complex. You're just gonna wanna have, you see how you have your file? You have angled little ridges, corduroy. So what you're gonna wanna do is put on the ski and make sure that the corduroy is against the flatness of the ski. So that way it's actually like scraping metal off. So if it's like this, if it's with the ski, it's not gonna scrape any metal off. But if it's like this, you can see there's some metal filings there. It's scraping metal off and sharpening up your edges. Make sure you keep the file flat at all times. You can do that by pressing here or just keeping it flat here, but you can run it across your edges, and that'll make the second part of the edge sharp. All right, so the reason we have the camera pointed down here is because I got a pretty nasty gash right here, and I'm gonna try to fix it up with some PTex. So what you're gonna need is a PTex stick and a lighter. All right, so what you're gonna wanna do is take your PTex stick and take your lighter and set the PTex stick on fire. Once it has its own flame like a candle, you're gonna wanna let it sit, and it'll start dropping little fire bombs. Now if it goes out like that, what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna blow on it a little bit to give it more oxygen, because it probably means you don't have enough oxygen. Keep it on fire. Give it a little blow, and it should start dropping more fire bombs. Right there, and then you're just gonna wanna drop the fire bombs all the way along where the gash is to fill it in, so that way you won't have a base gash anymore. And then you're gonna wanna blow it out fast like that when you're at the end, because it starts getting faster and faster as it starts dropping more fire bombs. Now, I just PTexed myself. Ouch, dude. Don't do that. That doesn't feel nice. So we're gonna wanna let it cool all the way so it can seep into the ski and get situated. And then after that, we're gonna wanna carve it off with a scraper. So what I recommend doing is filling in all your gashes on one ski, letting it dry, and then filling in all your gashes on another ski. But first, a quick tip, before you go to PTex your skis, please, please, please do not PTex every little nick and scratch. That's gonna waste so much PTex and money. Some of the scratches are really superficial and they're gonna be covered up by the wax that we're gonna put on later. So if you can move your nail through the scratch without it getting caught at like a little bit of force, but not too much, then it's probably, you probably don't have to PTex it. But if it's a deep gash and you move your nail and it gets stuck and then you push it and it falls out and stuff, then that's what the snow's gonna do. It's gonna get caught and slow you down. So your nail kind of works as the slow here, and you can test which gashes. If you're not sure if you need a PTex or not, just run your finger through and then you can see if you need a PTex it or not. All right, so once you've let your PTex cool, it's cool to the touch, you don't feel any other heat there. That means it's sinking in, the particles aren't moving around anymore, trying to get out of the hole. But now everything's completely seeped in. But as you notice, there's still bumps, and that's where the scraper comes in. Now with the scraper, you wanna scrape in the direction that the snow is gonna be. Every tool you use is basically gonna be a simulation of the snow. So that way, whenever you run something across it like snow, it's gonna go fast, right? So with the scraper, you just wanna start at the top and start with a pretty light, just peeling off all the top stuff. Then you're gonna wanna go a little harder, maybe jitter back and forth. And if you have stuff like this that won't come out, you can come at it at different angles, make sure it gets out. Because in the end, you wanna have a flat ski, because a flat ski will ultimately make you go faster. Just scrape everything off, right? But remember, after you go at a different angle, make sure you go straight again, because if you have something like this, the snow's gonna wanna go that way, because your like PTex and wax is not oriented all the way this way. So just make sure the last thing you do is a full swipe. And unlike the edge thing, you can move this one back and forth, just as long as you're getting the PTex off. You hear that little din, 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 that means I'm hitting a ridge. So I'm just gonna keep running it back and forth until I stop hearing that. I'm at it from a different angle, see? And you no longer hear that. And then you run your hand across it, it feels pretty smooth, right? It's not gonna be 100% perfect. You'll have to ski in the PTex a little bit. But what I recommend for really deep gashes, like this one might become, is you're gonna wanna PTex it again the next time you work on your skis. Like I had this one core punch that went all the way down to my base. You're just gonna wanna work in the PTex over time. So like, maybe like 3 weeks from now, this part will be fully filled in. It'll look like my normal ski again, like right here. So, just gonna wanna run it in all the way, do one final swoop, and then once you feel like there's no ridges or anything left, you can PTex the other ski. But if there are still dents and holes, you're just gonna wanna PTex it again. Just put on more PTex, because PTex is renewable. As you can see, you guys probably can't see this, but if I look at the light the right way, there's definitely dents in this gash right here. This one, it's fine. But this one, there's definitely dents, so I need to re-PTex that. And there we go. As you can see, this is the before picture, and this is what it looks like after. A lot better. There's no big long scrape slowing me down. I still have to scrape my other ski, but this one's pretty good, besides the wax, but we'll do that next. Your wax, of course, now, and a scraper that has the edge thing. You don't have to have this, but it's really nice. One thing about the wax is you're gonna wanna, if you know that it's gonna be super cold or super warm that week or day or however long you're gonna have this set of wax on, you're gonna wanna use degreed wax. Now degreed wax that has a temperature rating. So there's super cold wax for like East Coast, Maine people who know it's gonna be like -2. You don't wanna put on the warm wax because that's gonna make it go super slow. And if you know it's gonna be super warm, like you're skiing Mount Hood in the summer, you're gonna wanna use the warmer wax, like 34 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever. What you're gonna wanna do is turn on your iron. I recommend putting it at like 120, and then just let that heat up. Now one thing you want to do while your wax is heating up is if you have like any weird PTex things, like right here I have like a ridge that's sticking up, just scrape those down before you put the wax on. Also, you're going to want to make sure you brush off any metal scrapings that you have before you put on the wax. So just get any normal brush. Something like this will work, and then just swipe everything off that you don't want in your base of your ski. As you can see, the iron is steaming, so now what you can do is turn it down a little bit, down to like about 100. You're gonna wanna take your wax, right? And then put the iron in whatever hand the tip is on and your wax in the other hand, and you're gonna wanna put the wax on the iron and then drip it all the way down the ski. What I recommend doing is turning it over so that this part is here so that it doesn't have to drip through all this. So I'll show you right now. But as you can see, the wax is dripping onto the ski, which is what we want. We'll spread it out later. You're gonna wanna go all the way down once and all the way back up once. All right, so once you've covered the whole ski in wax, what you're gonna wanna do is iron in the wax to make it cover the whole ski. So you start at the tip, and for the first, I just recommend going side to side like this. Just go like this, because that'll spread it out pretty evenly. So do one full swipe of just going side to side, moving all the way down. Try to be really thorough with it because the fate of your speed may depend on it. So once you get to the end, you're gonna wanna just go sideways with the iron and go all the way back. Go all the way back in the direction that you'd be skiing. So if you're skiing switch the whole day, you go from your tail. If you're skiing normally like most people do, you're gonna go from the nose and just run that through about 3 times. Like that, and then once you have the wax like this, go back up to the nose. You can start at the tail also, which I like doing because then you go up and then go back. So I'm gonna start at the tail, and then you're gonna wanna do circles. Just make circles like this with your iron, and that'll really put the wax deep into the ski, which you want to strengthen and moisturize it. As you can see, the wet wax is getting all over the ski, which you want, and the hot wax also is seeping deep into the ski. Once you get to the tip, again, just go back real nice and slow. You don't want to keep the iron in one spot for too long, or else you're gonna overheat the PTex, and the PTex will start melting, which you really don't want. You just wanna go all the way down and make sure you get everywhere on your skis. Now this last time, what I like to do is go through and just try to get on the sides, because as you can see, all the wetness is in the middle, but on the sides, not as much wetness is applied. So you're gonna wanna, wetness, I don't know why I'm saying that, but you're gonna wanna go along one edge and then go along the other, go along one edge, go along the other. And then you're gonna wanna do like 5 run-throughs all the way down the ski in the direction that you'd be skiing. So, and then pick it up so you don't go back all the way in. All right, so after you've done that, the next thing you're gonna wanna do is let the wax cool and do the other ski. And now it's time for the scraping. Now the scraping is probably the part that takes the longest, but it's also the easiest. Now it's just scraping the excess wax that isn't on the base layer of the ski off, because the excess wax, if you run your finger over it, it actually slows you down. Like you see, I even scraped off some there. So it's very easy to scrape off. See, I'll do, what you're gonna wanna do, and what I'll do is just do one run through from the tip to the tail. And look at that, all that excess wax. When you wax your skis, a lot of excess wax is there, and that's why you have to scrape them. So next, you're gonna wanna do that a few more times, maybe like 2. It'll be pretty speedy. Make sure there's no old wax on the scraper once you go in for the next scrape. And then you're gonna wanna look at your ski and look at the parts that look dry, that don't really reflect in the light. That's where the wax is. It's like right here, there's a part that doesn't reflect. Like up here, it does reflect. See, there's no wax coming out. But if I go here, you can see wax is coming out. So the part that has wax is the part that looks dry. Like right there, that was a big part of wax. And you just wanna find all those dry liquid places and make them look laminated or wet or whatever. So next thing you're gonna wanna do is do some more aggressive scrapes. You're gonna wanna kind of go like up and down really fast like this, just to get off the wax that isn't as easy to get with just one scrape. You're gonna want to do that all the way down the ski. Do that around 2-3 times. But next you're gonna wanna work on your tip and your tail. You're still gonna wanna scrape the wax off your tip and your tail. Then you're gonna wanna do another run through. and look for places where the wax starts collecting on the scraper. Now, if there's no places, then that's good. That means you've waxed your skis with the scraper pretty well. But if there is, then that means there's an excess of wax and you need to scrape it. Like right here, it started coming off a lot. So I'm gonna go here and scrape it because I know that there's a lot of wax there that needs to come off. And then here, you can scrape it off. Usually the places that are gonna have the most wax are on the edges. So if you don't wanna check, you can just run through on your edges to scrape off all the wax. But that's pretty good. So now you're just gonna wanna brush off any excess wax that's on the ski. And this is where it's gonna start to look beautiful. Like this is your textbook wax ski, right? Now next thing you wanna do, this is completely optional, but if you have a brush, you're gonna wanna use it. So these have a rougher side and a finer side. So you're gonna wanna take the rough side first and just scrape your ski off with it. Next, you're gonna wanna use the fine part and obviously just do the same exact thing. This will get the even finer particles that were on the ski, off the ski. You can go side to side, but make sure the very last thing that you do is one big long down scrape. And then you'll get that textbook wax ski look. After, of course, you brush off all the excess particles. So you can see there, the ski's looking pretty nice. So what I do, you don't have to do this, but what I do is I put the fine, I put it sideways, and I put the fine one like this, and or I put the hard one in front and the fine one in the back, and I just run it along the ski. So it does the hard one and then the fine one instantly, basically. Then you're just gonna swipe it off again, make sure there's no more wax particles. And then you're really close to being done. Now this part, technically it's optional, but if you don't wanna fall on your first run, it is not that optional. You're gonna wanna get something like this or just anything to scrape the wax off the sides of your skis, because excess wax on the side of your skis will be painful on your first 3 turns, because you will not be able to turn. You'll be like, what's going on? Wait, do I not know how to ski or something? But it's just the wax. You gotta run off the wax or you gotta scrape it off here. So you might as well just do it here. And you're gonna wanna run it off in the direction you're skiing, of course, like everything. And then swipe it off again. And then you have your wax ski. Now, that's all for the tutorial, but there are many other things that you can use to wax your skis, such as cork, like this. You just rub it on to get like the super fine particles out. This is very, very optional. This is only if you want to go really fast. And there's other things to tune your skis up well. Also, you can get them grinded, stuff like that to flatten out the base. But for that at-home waxing tutorial, that's about it. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this content, make sure you can like and subscribe, but comment down below any other ski-related tutorials that you'd like to do, because I have not done much of those yet on my channel. So if you guys want like a ski turning tutorial, I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.